Hello, and welcome to the Love Life, Live Life Fitness podcast, the premier podcast where we talk about topics ranging from health and fitness, performance and sport, and wellness and rehabilitation. We tie these topics together to understand their impact on our daily lives and our journey to be the best version of ourselves. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we would like to welcome Chris. Chris, feel free if you want to say a little bit about yourself. And again, I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Of course, Angelo. It's really great to talk to you again. It's been a minute, but I'm very grateful that you asked me to come on today. My name is Chris Beaulaurier. I am the performance science coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Spokane, Washington, which is about as far away from Florida as you can get and still be in the contingent U.S. So I'm a little bit away from home down here, but loving life, getting to work in the NFL. Not sure how much you want me to go into my detail and stuff, but we met, where this all kind of started at the University of Nebraska, both doing some internship at the NAPL, the Performance Science Lab out there. It's kind of been fun watching you as a fan, watching you in your career move through everything thus far in life with you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And then likewise to you. I know you've been grinding. You've been educating yourself, and you've been just working again in the NFL. Like that's big. Many people here in the audience, they're always curious about kind of what goes on day to day. How do you get to where you're getting to, and how do you make it all like worth it in the end? These are like things that people aspire to. Whether you're someone who wants to actually play professionally or even work professionally, and you being a great athlete and a strong guy yourself, physically,
Stop. Come on.
No, you are. But being someone like yourself who is physically active as well as doing the day-to-day grind of actually working alongside great professional athletes and great staff, how would you say right now, kind of how'd you get to your point in terms of educationally as well as career path to where you're at currently?
Yeah, absolutely. So we met at the University of Nebraska. I have a little bit of a story before that. Born and raised in Washington, I played college football at a little D3 school, the University of Puget Sound. Go Loggers, hacks and chops. I had a fantastic time there. I double majored in physics and math, majored in physics with a minor in math. Do not, for anyone listening, do 2 STEM careers and also college sports. It's a terrible idea. Just don't do it. We used to joke. There was actually a couple of us on the team that did that. That instead of getting the degree at the end of it, we should have gotten like Purple Hearts. I didn't sleep for 4 years. It was awful. But after that, I knew 2 things graduating from college. One, I didn't want to be an engineer like I thought I did, because I didn't want to sit at a computer and do computer-aided design in a cubicle for 40 hours a week. And I also didn't want to stop playing football. So I was very fortunate. I was able to play after college. I went to Germany and played for a season with the Elmshorn Fighting Pirates of the German Football League over there, and then had an opportunity to play in Canada. I had to have an emergency surgery basically during training camp up there, which ended my playing career. After that, trying to find myself, I somehow ended up down in the Bay Area of California selling cars. So Angelo, if you ever want to know anything about towing stacks on an F-150, I'm your man. While down there, a couple of my coworkers asked me like, hey, I want to get back into shape. I want to lift again. Would you go to the gym with me? And I remember one time specifically, one of my coworkers, Rafa, and I were in the gym, and I was trying to teach him how to squat again. And I just remember taking a second. He said, oh, I get it now. I just took a second to myself and went, pardon my French, fuck, I missed this. Like, I need to do this. And that was what set me off on the course. Like, okay, I need to get back into the strength and conditioning and into the sports world. When COVID hit, that actually gave me enough time off of work to apply to some master's programs. I ended up going to Florida State University to get my master's in sports science. While I was there, one of my professors brought on the director of the Nebraska Athletic Performance Lab, Chris Bach, that you and I worked for. He apparently got his PhD at Florida State. And Dr. Ormsby said, "Hey, Chris, Dr. Bach is having an internship open up. I think you guys would really connect well." We talked a little bit. I ended up moving to Nebraska. While there, Bach gave a presentation at the Combine that year, the NFL Combine. Strength and conditioning used to have I guess it's back now, but they used to have a strength and conditioning summit in Indianapolis at the Combine. He gave a presentation there. While there, he spoke with a couple of teams. The LA Rams were looking for someone of my kind of skill set, sports science and strength and conditioning. Got an interview with them, ended up moving to LA for 2 years, working as a sports science strength and conditioning fellow with them. After that, applied to the Jacksonville Jaguars, where Dr. Bach had then moved to. Have worked here now for 2 seasons and going into my third with the Jags. So that's kind of my education and career path, hitting basically every corner of the map other than the Northeast. I haven't been up there yet. I'm sure I will end up somewhere in the cold Northeast at some point.
Awesome. That's a great career path. I mean, going all the way from, being student athlete professionally overseas, and then all the way to selling cars. And don't worry, I'm going to be asking you about the cars soon. But going from there, and then, finding your way to Nebraska, and then California, Florida. And so you really have been nationwide and international. And I think that's just something that's really unique about, again, your experience. Many other people have different experiences, but I think that's really unique to that. It's really unique. And I was going to say, with that, how do you feel that kind of all those changes and going different places, how do you feel like that's kind of shaped you in terms of your development, as a man yourself, as well as in terms of your career?
Yeah, it's I'm a big quotes guy. And while I may not remember where the quotes come from, I will always give credit to the people who are smarter and better at English than I am. The quote is, "Growth happens outside of your comfort zone." And I think I've kind of hopefully exemplified taking that to heart of, if it's the best thing for the career, if it's the best thing to grow and learn, bet on yourself, go do the thing, go somewhere where it's hard, it's different, it's far away. The bravery in taking the risk of betting on yourself will pay off. I can't stress enough how much all of the different experiences culturally and across geographies have shaped me and helped me connect and understand things across my career. The lessons I have learned by living in Germany for a year and trying to navigate the U-Bahn system in Hamburg has been crucial in every day at my job, just as much as learning how to communicate and sell cars and speak to people has also helped me in my career, despite those being completely varied and not connected at all to the job that I do now. I think that growth and specifically investing in yourself with knowledge and experiences is something that is always worth it.
No, that's big. And I think kind of to that point, communication is such an important factor. Again, you were saying learning how to do those different things in different places and communicating with people of different backgrounds, and just trying to be able to find a common ground of getting to a solution, and throughout all the translation that may actually happen in between. So I think that's awesome that you really have utilized that to your advantage in terms of kind of developing yourself. To that point,
how successfully is up for debate still. Let's ask my boss if I'm doing it well enough. But
You're doing well. You're doing great. You're doing great. I would say to that point of kind of communication and kind of how you're developing yourself um, to the best of your detail that you can or allowed to kind of just talk about. What would you say your day to day looks like, or roles and responsibilities, kind of to give the general audience just a little bit about you and your position?
Yeah. So it's my job is interesting insofar as day to day is incredibly dependent on the time of year. So the NFL season is very regimented. So once we get to in season, it is 17, well, plus a bye, 18 weeks. That's pretty much the same thing. Every Monday looks like the same Monday. Every Tuesday looks like the same Tuesday. Um, in season is also very different than where I'm at now. We are currently in the off season before off season programming. Uh, Now we're trying to change a whole bunch of stuff, all of the things that we couldn't get done during the season, where we're working 7 days a week and just trying to keep up with the pace of the game. Uh, all of the ideas we've had to change and improve our department are being implemented now. Changing hardware with some of the technology we use, reorganizing software, and a big part of my job, no matter what time of year, is reporting and taking data and making it understandable to coaches, medical staff, strength conditioning, everyone around here, so we are all on the same page as far as quantitatively what is happening with the athletes. Now is when we're trying to change that and make them better and take advice, criticism from all the departments and make everyone else's lives easier by creating things that are beneficial to them. As far as the meat and potatoes, most of the season, on like a practice day, my day-to-day is going to look like implementing. First thing I do when I step in the building is make sure that our external workload tracking devices, we use Catapult, are synced, ready to turn on at the right time, and then getting those out into lockers for the athletes. After that, we'll have most days some sort of lift on the floor. I help out with that. If we're doing any testing, about once a week, or ideally once a week, we will test counter movement jumps on force plates. I'll be running that with the athletes, trying to get those in while they're lifting in the time frame that we have them here in the weight room. I also end up being tech support for some of the other technologies that we're implementing at the time. We have camera-based, velocity-based training apparatuses. Perch is the brand that we're currently using to track all barbell movements with the athletes and keeping track of that day over day, week over week, to make sure that we're maintaining the attributes that we want in the athlete, improving what we're improving, and just basically keeping track of, are we doing what we're saying we're doing with the strength conditioning program. After that, it'll be set up for practice, helping athletes pre-practice to warm up, activate. If there's any specific plans that we have from medical or something for athletes that have chronic injuries or something acute they need to get ready for practice, we'll take care of that before practice. During practice, I will run the tracking, the Catapult computer, making sure that I'm logging everything that we're doing. As far as like the practice breakdown of drills and who's in what period doing what, just trying to keep as much like of the subjective data in with the numbers as possible, because in my thought process, any sort of numbers without context are useless. You can tell someone how far someone moved into practice or how fast they ran, but without understanding when they did that and why, it's not necessarily helpful, especially to tactical coaches who don't speak in numbers. After that, download, make sure I clean up anything if there's anything wrong with data, because as I'm sure you know, there's always something wrong with data. Something went wrong, you got to fix. Take that information, get it ready for report if there's anything specific or glaring that kind of came out of that practice, making sure that information is shared with the chain of communication to make sure that everyone who needs to know knows about anything that happened. And then preparing everything, making sure if there's any extra projects, long-term projects I'm doing, that happens after practice, getting all of that done, and preparing setting up everything to run it back again the next day.
Nice. You are a multifaceted man. Man.
It's never a dull moment here. Also on game day this last season, we'll see if I continue to do it. But this last year, I was the K ball guy. I got to stand on the sideline with the big K vest, carried around all the kicking balls. So that was fun.
Okay, awesome. Nice, man. Yeah, I would say that's awesome. The fact that you do all those things, you're communicating with different staff members on the daily, with the athletes. How do you feel as though, how like rewarding is that to you? The fact that think about with your journey and where you come from and the things that you've done, kind of on a day-to-day basis, because I know it can be a grind for sure. Like I'm sure long days, long hours. However, the fact that you're you're doing the thing, how do you feel as though when you're there, like what makes it really rewarding on those day-to-day basis?
That's a good question. I think that my favorite part, and in my opinion, the most critical part of my job, is not the part that most people get into sports science for. Most of us that are in sports science, I'm sure you know, love the numbers. I love quantifying. My whole philosophy is like I want to take, can we test and give an answer to, are we doing what we're saying we're doing for preparing for sport, like both physical attributes and also tactical, everything. Just how can we ask the question to make sure we're doing what we want to do? Even if we figure that out with the numbers and all the technology that I'm fortunate enough to be able to use on a day-to-day basis, that doesn't matter unless it's communicated properly, and not just about me explaining it. The important thing is the people that are the decision makers need to understand it. And that's an important part. So communication is critical. And that's why I think my time selling cars may have been the most critical time in my life as far as preparing me for this job. I can't just communicate in the way of my style. I would love to just spout out numbers all the time because that's how my brain works. Very, very few athletic coaches want to know the direct work to rest ratios that we did on the field today. What they want to know is, was it hard? Was it not? So I need to learn to not speak. I need to speak statistics and then translate that from statistics into coach. And so, my experiences have absolutely helped me prepare me for that. And I think that for anyone getting into this field, they need to understand that while a true understanding of science and statistics, and that is critically important to be able to handle information properly, the critical step is always the communicating that information to the people that need to know it in a way that they can understand it. It's very much an ego check of, it is not about how I want to see a report. It's not about how I want to read information. It is about how coach, it is about how training staff, it is about how strength staff, what they need in order to do their jobs better.
Awesome. And I think that's big. Communication is huge. It's key because and you're well versed yourself. Like you could communicate with medical staff in relating to something going on with an athlete or an injury or anything relating to that, or just how they're performing in general, and then communicating with a coach. Again, as you were touching on just now, like keeping it simple, direct, and trying to help meet the coach's needs and their demands of how can that actually support their job. So supporting each other by keeping that communication on their level, meeting them where they're at. Coming to that point, how would you say, or what would you say is advice you would give to others who are wanting to get into a position such as yours?
Yeah, that's another good question. I'm going to steal a quote from my boss because, again, love quotes, and also I think he's a pretty smart guy. His philosophy is you're more likely to get more done over a beer or a coffee than you will in a meeting. It's the communication comes not just from learning how to speak language, but also relationship building. Being a good coworker involves knowing your coworkers. It's not everyone is going to be friends with everyone, of course, but showing that you care not just about, your own selfish things, and not even necessarily caring about the success of the team, because we understand everyone in the building, that is our number one goal. That is just understood, as the goal is to make these guys real good. From that, you also need to understand of what each person wants and what is best for them, and that is something that is really helpful. It's the relationship building is critical, as well as the communication, the understanding of science, all that sort of stuff. You touched on it a little bit earlier, that for everyone at home, I did get a couple of these questions beforehand, so I prepared a little bit, not to break your fourth wall or anything, Angelo, but when you sent me that question, what advice would you want to give to people in similar roles? This field is, especially in competitive sports, is hard. It is time consuming. Sometimes the pay is terrible for the amount of work. Another quote that I love is, find what you love and let it kill you. There is a lot of hard parts about it. I don't think you'll find anyone that says, no, it's a cakewalk and all that sort of stuff. But also, if this is where your passion lies, if you can't think in any other ways, if you've worked a job selling cars or something like that, and every moment you're there going, this isn't what I want, I need to be back doing sports or whatever, there's nothing more rewarding. This is the most wonderful job. There, like we've talked about, there are days where it's 7 days a week for 6 months, putting in 15, 16 hours a day. There's not a single day I go into work and go, I don't want to be here. I'm so fortunate to be able to do what I love. And for someone that's coming into this field, if that describes you, if you're hearing that and that resonates with you, go for it. Bet on yourself, be brave, do it. Even if it's hard, even if it's scary, absolutely worth it, because you'll go into work every day going, there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
That is that's deep, and I think that's really real, in the sense that, that passion and going for something that you want in life is huge, because sometimes in life you're at points when you might feel stuck, or you might could feel lost, but you're also really trying to figure out things that makes you passionate about something, whether you're lacking in understanding goals for yourself, but also just seeing like, what is something that I'm interested in. And I resonate with that myself too. I feel as though that, being a former student athlete, understanding that mindset of keep getting better, 1% better, all those things of just trying to improve yourself, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, all aspects of your life, just trying to chase something that just helps you feel whole, and that gets you motivated every day, whether you're translating that to yourself, but also, in a work sense, helping out others and supporting an organization. So I think that's really big. It's big.
Yeah, again, more quotes, because that's always fun. If you've watched any of Bill Burr's stand-up, on his podcast, he talked about, people ask him the questions like, how do you do it? It's so risky to try to make it in stand-up comedy. His response to that was, it's not risky. Not doing it is a risk. Sleeping on a couch at 30, chasing your dreams, is not risky, because you go to bed at night knowing you're doing what you love. What's risky is taking the easy way out and waking up 10 years later in a house you don't love, dreading going to work tomorrow, sitting next to a wife you don't like. That's riskier to me. Chasing your dreams is not risky. Once you know what you want, it's do what aligns with you, and then chase your passion.
Man, you might have to write a book after this, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's not me, though. I just take what all the other smart people say. I just regurgitate it. I'm a parrot, essentially.
Hey, man, you're a smart parrot, man.
It's every strength coach, I'm sure you've heard it too. Every strength coach is just a really great thief. Mm-hmm. We all borrow from each other. No, very, very rarely is someone coming up with something completely unique all by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very true. That's true. And that's how we get better. Taking a little bit of yeah, and just kind of learning from each other. I think that's big. I just have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, with this being said, how would you say fitness has influenced your life to any degree that you want to go on. How has fitness influenced your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I could, obviously, I work in a fitness industry. We can talk about how that is literally on a day-to-day basis. It's how I feed myself. Um, when I saw that question, that is not the first thing I thought of. When I think of fitness influencing my life, I think back to after my playing career ended. So, because of the surgery I had, I ended up losing 30 pounds in 17 days in that recovery. And I was then essentially lost a lot of how I defined myself very quickly. I lost who I am as a football player because that was taken away from me. I lost a substantial chunk of the physical attributes I used to pride myself on, um, and was kind of rudderless. When I was able to get back into the gym after that, I just remember doing an entire lap of the gym I was working at and just not knowing what to do because I didn't have like a purpose anymore. I wasn't training for something, but I had this compulsion from athletics to go and train. Um, and it took a long time for me to figure out what fitness meant to me um, without, without those same goals that have been instilled in me since childhood. Actually, I read Terry Cruz's biography, and that actually helped me a lot. He had he was much more successful in his athletic career than I was, but had something similar where he had to figure out how to maintain fitness without that goal. And his mindset change was that we're not training to punish ourselves anymore or do damage so we can prepare and there's no competition against someone else. Fitness needs to be something you do as a kindness to yourself. And that's what it's become for me. Fitness has helped me become a lot more self-aware emotionally, and using, exercise exertion to, as we know, as fitness professionals, it regulates hormones, it like improves sleep quality, all these sorts of things at the like cellular physiological level it does. But that's also just as effective on mental health. So fitness has influenced me by like helping me work through post-playing career confusion, regulating mental health, giving an outlet for energy that would be poorly spent elsewhere, and just allowing a focal point to be kind to yourself, essentially. In that, well, that's a focused kind of selfish take on it that I lift for me because I always like to think of being kind to 12-year-old Chris. 12-year-old Chris deserves to be taken care of, and lifting and keeping this flesh prison in good condition is a way that I can be kind to him.
Man, that's a great way of just explaining that and like saying that. I think not too many people really get to that level of like understanding about. I think what you just said of helping out 12-year-old Chris in that sense, I think that's really, that's touching for one, and two, that I think that's a factor that some people, you don't always thinking about like really how even like looking back at something that where you're at in the past, like how have I come from here, and how has the physical changes, maybe nutritionally or physical development, how has that actually changed and led me to where I'm at now? Or if I'm not where I'm at or where I want to be, how is it leading me on that process to get to where I want to go or where I want to be at? So I thank you for touching on that and just explaining more about how fitness has influenced you.
Of course, I found that using fitness as a punishment, especially like for yourself, only lasts so long. You can only be so mean to yourself. There is never a limit of how kind you can be to yourself, and reframing things that way of let's celebrate what I can do today. Let's Let's see what I'm capable of right now, and that as a celebration of movement is a way better way to look at things than I'm going to get under this bar and make myself hurt because I hate myself. That just you get diminishing returns in that thought process, in my opinion.
Just hearing that, I'm going to run through a wall. That got me hyped up.
Don't do that. It's bad for you. You need to be kind to ourselves. That's what we're trying to get here, Andrew.
I'll be kind to myself on the other side of the wall. Okay.
Okay.
Honestly, that's good though. Really, true.
Yeah.
Couple more questions. Right now, since the podcast is Love Your Life, Live Your Life Fitness podcast, how would you say, or what does it mean to love your life and live your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the similar to what I was just talking about, what I thought when I read that question was the first word that popped up was like self-care. That's what fitness has become to me now. And it's almost, we've all learned the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. I think sometimes some of us get like too lost in that and don't do the other side, the first part of that well. Treat others the way you want to be treated also includes being kind to yourself as you would others. Those in this profession know that this is it's a service industry. We work to serve others in some facet, however that best fits our calling. But it is always important to remember to put your own mask on first. Take care of yourself. So in order to live your life, you need to love your life, and part of loving your life is taking care of yourself. I will say that isn't necessarily always just spa days and face masks and sleeping in until noon. Oftentimes that is also the hard thing. It's doing the brave thing that aligns more with where you feel like your life should go. That's making the move 7,000 miles away to go live in Germany for a year where you don't speak the language and don't know a soul. It's the deciding to bet on yourself and leaving a career to go back to school and pursue a PhD. It's those sorts of things are also self-care. They're also kindness and taking care of yourself. It's not always easy, but it's the thing deep down that you know and feel is right. The other aspect of love your life, live your life, I thought of is, again, another quote that I love. It's 3 words. It's live on purpose. It's that if you're going to go through this life, we all exist. We wake up every morning. Loving your life and living your life is doing that with intention of what happens every day is something that you decide on. You decide to be a positive influence. You decide to dictate your own path, paddle your own canoe, and not just be washed around by the fate and random chance that exists. Absolutely, things outside of your control will affect day-to-day life. We can't control that, but we can control our choices. And the important thing, in my opinion, is to make those choices. There are so many ways you can go about living life, doing fitness, all that sort of stuff. But the important point is to have a choice and take a step. Just the next, whatever that is just do something with intention. And then from there, do the next one. And that's just all we're doing. That's loving and living life. Is you got to love yourself to love your life. And then to live your life, you have to actively participate.
Yeah, thank you. That's very true. Some people say like stacking days and different like that. And I mean, sometimes it's not even days. Sometimes it's seconds or minutes. Just depends on where you are in life. Some people are in positions where they don't know what the next day looks like or the next couple of minutes. So all the way from that to, having a life where, you don't need to worry about many different things. And so all those in between, everybody has, as you were saying, everybody has choices. And sometimes, choices, they can impact your life to a higher level or a deeper level compared to others. And I think regardless on those choices that you make, whether you make choices that you might feel as though they weren't necessarily a positive step in your life, the biggest thing is from where you're at, right from that point, and the next step is that you start, improving. And if you make another mistake again, just try to eliminate as many mistakes as you can, and just so you can start again turning that positive those negatives into a positive, so that you can start allowing yourself to, love your life and just live your life and just make those positive changes and just keep stacking days and getting to where you need to be.
Absolutely. Failure is only permanent when you stop trying.
Hmm.
Nothing is permanent. Nothing is unforgivable. It all comes back to the outcome of things. Oftentimes we can't control, but we can control our reaction and what the next step is. So when chaos happens, even if it feels like everything is out of control, there's something. Even if it's as simple as deciding to eat or what to eat or something like that. Just in the next 5 minutes, there's always something to control, and starting with that and building out of like, look, this is the next thing that I can do. I have no idea if I'm going to have a job tomorrow, which is something in this field that is very present. Is everything is temporary. The joke is the NFL stands for not for long. But what you can control is with the time I have. If today is my last day, I have control of this next hour. What am I doing to better the team? What am I doing to better myself in this next hour? Which project am I going to work on? Those little decisions, and being able to, like you said, stack days of continually stack intentional actions will lead to growth and inner peace of I did everything I could. And even if what you can control is very little, if you control what you can control, you can go to bed at night understanding that you are have done everything you could, and go to sleep with your head held high.
Yes, sir. It's big. It's big, and really, I think comes down to kind of where you're at. Like you said, those intentional changes. You can stack days, but how you're stacking those days is something that really kind of dictates those changes that you can make. And just every day, just thanking God, thanking where you're at, and then thanking anyone who has led you to where you're at and those around you. You don't always have to have the best relationships with people, but all you can do is, like you said, control what you can control and control how you treat people. I think that's big.
That's it's similar to a story I read. I'm not sure if you're on Reddit at all, but that's where I read the story of a woman was nervous about leaving her career to go back to school. She's always wanted to be a dentist, but she's like, I don't know. By the time I go and finish the program, I'll be 30. And in this conversation with her mother stopped her and said, "You're going to be 30 anyway. You might as well be a dentist." Like it's one of those things of, yeah, just make the decision. Things are going to, life is happening. It is, whether you want it to or not, time is marching on. So if you have something that you want to do, why not now?
Man, everything you're saying is just diamonds. 'Cause that's very true. I think it's a really good story. I've never actually heard like that perspective, but I think that's really true. You're eventually gonna be somewhere at some point, so might as well do what you can to do what you want to do if you can.
Man, you're the living embodiment of that. Like you said, I want my PhD, and you just did it. That's what you're doing. I'm very excited to be able to call you doctor here in not too long. So it's your journey is inspiring, man. Genuinely, as someone who I give all this advice and not always follow it. I have been saying for years, I want to go and I want to get my PhD as well. So you watching your career of just making that big jump and doing it is inspiring to me. So
Likewise.
I really appreciate getting to have this discussion, talk about this stuff with you, because you are an inspiration.
Thank you, man. Same thing to you. I know so many people who are just trying to get their way in and get to where they can be. And I mean, again, you're doing it. So thank you again. And thank you for also inspiring me. I mean, I'm going through a process myself and trying to just, again, get better daily. But, your hands on the ground and you're doing the thing. So I'm proud of you for that.
Appreciate it. We're all going to make it, man. That's the goal. Keep moving forward. Keep progressing. We're all going to make it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, right now, I think we're going to start to wrap up this episode of the podcast. But before I let you go, I just want to ask you and kind of see where you're at. But where would you say is the best place for people to find you if they're trying to connect with you or just learn more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not the biggest on social media or anything like that. The best place to connect with me is probably LinkedIn. I don't know my exact thing, but have a pretty uncommon last name. I'm sure if you type in Chris Beaulaurier with all of the French vowels, that you'll be able to find me. That, or if you want to reach out a little bit more directly to me, my email, which is my last name, Beaulaurier C at NFL.jaguars.com. Those are probably the best way to reach me. If you have any questions, if you feel like you want to, don't hesitate. I am an open book. I am happy to hear and talk to anyone that would want to listen and exchange ideas.
Great. Well, thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Likewise.
Thank you. And just really thank you for everything, the insight that you brought, your background and your experience, and all those questions that I asked, just kind of being real and just talking about how you view those things. So thank you again for just being on.
Of course. It was a pleasure. We should do it again sometime. You let me know when you want me back.
Oh, I got you, man. All right. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, Angelo.
Yeah, you too.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I also want to thank our wonderful guests for coming on today. For more content, you can find us on Instagram at Love Life, Live Life Fitness. Stay tuned for our next episode, and as always, love your life and live your life.